Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers Review post-match reaction video after Rangers' hard-fought 1-0 win away to Hibs at Easter Road. Johnny's just flashed up Danilo's dad, who is enjoying himself, and quite rightly so, because his son has earned the 3 points. It was a team performance tonight. Jack Butland also with more heroics from the penalty spot to deny Hibs late on. And it's back-to-back league wins for the first time this season. Back-to-back wins for Danny Rule, and Rangers can move on into Sunday's League Cup semi-final with belief and optimism, perhaps. Fantastic goal it was, the match-winning goal in the opening 5 minutes from Danilo, who was started up front alongside Chiriti. Removed at half-time. I'd imagine that's with one eye on Sunday, but it was a moment of class. 2 goals in as many games for the Brazilian. Second half was pretty scrappy, let's be honest. It was ugly, but we don't give a jot because Rangers have earned another victory, and that's what it's all about. That is the name of the game. Blair is at Easter Road for us. What do you make of that, Blair?
Yeah, fingernails slightly shredded, Derek, after that one. But the most important thing is Rangers come out with the victory. And I have been like a broken record on this podcast for the last few weeks saying how Rangers cannot string 2 wins together. And finally, it has happened. Rangers have put together back-to-back wins. Only time will tell how big this victory could be. 1 win, 2 wins a season does not make, but it just seems like in the terms of this week, the scale of it, going into that semi-final off the back of 2 wins in the league, optimism is high. They're riding the crest of a wave. It could be a massive turning point in the season this tonight.
Yep, it wasn't vintage by any matter of means, but small steps, as Danny Rule said after the win against Kilmarnock at the weekend, Johnny, and that's not an easy place to go, although Rangers have got a really good record at Easter Road. I think that's, 27 without defeat there, but Hibs have been going pretty well under David Gray, apart from the penalty. I thought, McGrath with his spot kick that was well saved by Butland. I thought Rangers defended pretty well tonight. That clean sheet is huge. The first in, 25 games, which is ridiculous, really. What do you make of what you witnessed this evening?
Yeah, it was a classic Scottish football away win. When the chips were down, Rangers stood tall, and that's the main thing. That's the absolute number one thing, because this is a team that's collapsed in on itself so many times under Russell Martin. So many times this season, they've not stood tall in the face of adversity. And what you saw tonight, I think, was a really well-organised, really well-structured team that has gone back to basics. I think that's what everyone called for. And you have to say, Danny Rule, it's early days, but he's been pitch perfect so far. He's not put a foot wrong. He's handled his media brilliantly. He's handled the stuff on the grass brilliantly. And I think Rangers can go into this game on Sunday and really, really find VITAL and thinking there's a real opportunity to put a marker down and for this Danny Rule revolution to keep rolling on.
Yeah, he has impressed. That's him being in the job pretty much about a week now. He's got his first 2 league wins. 5 changes to the team tonight, Blair. When we were on prior to kick-off, we discussed our thoughts on the team. I was quite excited at seeing it. He did say in his pre-match interview that they have a number of games coming up, and he's certainly using his whole squad as a squad game at the end of the day. I thought it was a pretty ballsy team selection, but I did like the press from Rangers. Certainly in that first half, they were pressing aggressively high, and got the rewards. Tailed off in the second half, but I thought there was a number of good performers in that team. I thought Jaden Magoma again looks pretty comfortable in that sort of advanced wing-back role, with Derek Cornelius as a bit of an insurance policy for him. His booking, incidentally, was an absolute disgrace. It was never a yellow in a month of Sundays. We touched on Danilo. I'm sure we'll speak about him more in detail, but I thought he was good in that first half before he was removed. Nasser Giga came in from the cold, if you like, and he was pretty good as well. I've got to say I was quietly impressed by him. John Souttar, for me, looks more comfortable in the centre of a back 3, perhaps. Johnny, you were looking for a back 3 after the debacle in Norway last week, and we've seen that now. I think that could be the way forward, Blair, the back 3.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that these players look so much more comfortable in a back three. I think it's I said it before the game. I think it really is the case that Danilo has came in and realised that these players, they don't, either he doesn't have the confidence in them or it just doesn't really work as a pair. The Rangers don't have the right combination of players to play with a back two there. I don't
Yeah.
think. I think when you put them at a three, I think instantly everybody looks so much more assured. John Souttar looks like a different player playing in a back three. It is absolutely night and day to what we've seen at the start of the season from John Souttar. I thought he was great tonight. He's playing in that position where he plays for Scotland, where he seems so much more comfortable with a couple of guys round about him. And he's just there to get his foot on the ball, get it away. That's what he does. I thought Rangers were very assured defensively tonight. I think there is still concerns that in the second half the performance seriously did tail off. I think that Rangers started really well. I think that the opening, getting the goal so early, absolutely killed the crowd in here, by the way. I was expecting a much more hostile environment coming to Easter Road, but I think that early goal just absolutely sucks the life out of the place. And from then on in, Rangers were pretty comfortable in that opening period. But there was a similar case in the Dundee United game when Rangers played really well in the opening 45 minutes and then just put the tools away at half time and didn't come back out. Dundee United punished them that night. Tonight, Rangers have got away with it. They didn't get punished by that Hibs penalty. It's a great save by Jack Butland. I was actually oddly, believe it or not, quite confident that he might save it. I always look at Jack
Great record.
when
Yeah.
he comes up against penalties, and he's one of those goalkeepers that you're thinking, you know what, even if there is a penalty against you, he's always got a chance. So yeah, they weren't punished tonight, and I think it's just those small margins that make a difference in a season, and being able to get over the line despite not playing well in that second half, I think it will do wonders for those players' confidence on the park. And I think the fact that it has changed that around and Rangers have come out with a win, I think that'll silence a lot of critics before the game who were probably questioning that starting 11.
Yeah. The penalty save, I mean, I've seen someone on social media, they said he saved 8 out of 9 penalties. I'm not need to have a look, see if that's right, but it's some stat. He loves penalties. Johnny is quickly Googling as we speak. But Stephen Jackson and many others, he says, give Butland player of the year. He's been brilliant for Rangers this season. One of the big talking points in the summer was what his future holds. Rangers need to go and get another number one, given his drop-off in form last season. But I don't know what Sal Bibbo has done with him, or it's just part of Jack Butland sort of reassessing where he is in his footballing career. But he's come back a player reborn, and he's been terrific. And he proved that again this evening, Johnny, with that penalty save. Made a big save from Grant Hanley as well in the first half, although I don't know if it was maybe hitting the post. He wasn't to know that, but he comes up trumps again.
Yeah, I think the one player that you can say is performing to a Rangers level this season, a Rangers level for a title-winning team, is Jack Butland. He's been absolutely superb, and I think I was one of the many people that were criticising him at the end of last season, suggesting Rangers needed to go and get another goalkeeper. But I think what he's done is he's stuffed those words down everyone's throat, hasn't he? He's been right at the very top of his game. He's made still the odd mistake. I think everyone would point to the goal that Kilmarnock scored at the weekend there and say that he didn't cover himself in glory in that one. But generally, I would give him an 8 out of 10 comfortably for this season. He's been really, really good. He's made countless big moment saves, and none bigger than tonight. This is a really, really big night, I think, for Rangers. A tough place to go. A team that they got that early goal, and I've seen a few people pointing to the XG, Derek, and saying, you know, well, Hibs had a significant XG in the game, and Rangers had a small XG. I think it was 0.47 according to the stats that I've got in front of me. But I think that the early goal set the tenor of the game. It was up to Hibs then to come out. Rangers were a back three. They were saying, you come and show us what you can do and we'll hit you on the break. So I think that set the way the match unfolded, that early goal. And I think Butland, he's got to come up with that big moment. It's the one time that I felt Rangers just looked a little bit rocky. You know, it's a really unlucky penalty because Tavernier slips. I think if Tavernier doesn't slip, Barron doesn't engage, even though Barron does engage, and it is a penalty, by the way, but it's kind of soft. It's in the edge of the box. Not an awful lot in it. So, yeah, I think the fact that Rangers dug deep and managed the game the way they did, given what we've seen already this season, starts to tell me that I think Danny Rule, I need to get this right because it's going to take me a while, folks. It's like Ali McCoist and Morales and Morelos. I'm going to get there eventually, I promise. But Danny Rule, I think, is already getting to these players. He's already having an impact. They're already buying in. They clearly understand what he's looking for. And some of these players that have been so maligned, I think you're already seeing some starting to show what they can do. If you look at, for example, Jaden Magoma tonight, I thought he was absolutely terrific. Absolutely terrific. And Derek, you mentioned that he looks much more comfortable in the wing back. I just think generally he looked like a confident boy, like a different player. Yeah. So if Danny Rule can continue to do that with more players, if he can continue to understand that ultimately at Rangers is about wins and getting over the line in each individual game, and whether or not that involves different strategies or not, that's what it requires. I think Rangers are in a right good place. And as I say, Hearts dropped 2 points. Now, normally, if we were in October 29th and we were talking about being 11 points behind the leader in the league for Rangers, we'd be saying that's a disaster. But I think the way the results have gone tonight have favoured Rangers. And, ultimately, they can only look at what's in front of them. Celtic are 5 points in front of them. They need to look to them first. And Hearts will take care of itself. Hearts will drop points. We know that. It's up to Danny Rule's Rangers. Danny Rule's Rangers to be relentless.
Yeah, you can sense a change in mood and atmosphere. That's for sure. Certainly feel a lot of supporters feel more engaged with the club now, just given what they're now witnessing on the park. It's only 2 games. I'm not counting the brand game, but it's only 2 games. But again, as I mentioned, it is small steps, and we are starting to see little bits of things that you can see that Danny Rule's trying to implement in this team. They do look more structured. They do look much harder to beat, which is vital at a team like Rangers. One of my big concerns in the summer was I was told that Russell Martin doesn't know how to organise a defence, and well, that's no use to anyone who's coming in. So it's clear that he's looked to strengthen in that area, and tonight was a key component of that. But that save from Butland is massive with regards to that. I agree. It was a penalty. It was on the soft side, but
Derek, the stats are in, pal. The stats are in. So 46 penalties.
Yes,
Jack Butland, and he saved 9. That's 5 for Rangers, by the way. So very impressive record, you'd have to say. And in terms of the Rangers penalties that he's faced, he's let in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and saved 5.
Right.
So 13 penalties, he saved 5. That is a remarkable percentage. I'm just doing the math. 38%.
There you go. That's
38% of Rangers penalties saved.
I think that's pretty good going. If there's any goalkeepers in the chat, do let us know if that's a pretty good. It seems like a good percentage to me. Certainly, I was confident when McGrath was stepping up that Butland would make the save. I don't know what it was. I think his track record with penalties, but he certainly stepped up and produced a big moment. Baron Blair is coming in for a lot of praise in the comments. That was a big call again from Danny Rule to put him in the engine room alongside Nico Raskin in place of Mohamed Diamandi. Stephen says he was the best man on the park. Covered every blade of grass, Conor Barron. That was a real proper Rangers midfielders performance tonight from him, wasn't it?
I'm really glad you brought him up, Derek. He was really unfortunate for the penalty. Tavernier slips, and he's really unlucky that he goes in like that and gives it away. As far as the rest of his game went, I thought he was excellent this evening. I've been quite critical of Conor Barron in the past, but I thought he was really superb. The way he got around the pitch, the way he drove Rangers forward, the energy he added into that midfield. And we said it before the game, him and Nico Raskin as that two-man in there, they were going to be all over the place, just all over the Hibs midfield, in there to give you that dig, to give you that drive, and to bring the team up the park. And I thought that's the most I've ever seen Conor Barron get on the ball and take men on. I haven't really seen this side of the game from Conor Barron in a Rangers jersey. I remember last season I went to a game, it was St Mirren against Aberdeen, and I seen Conor Barron stick one in from 25 yards 2 seasons ago rather, and it really looked like a really promising attacking midfielder. And I think tonight we've seen a little glimpse of that. We've seen a little bit of what Conor Barron can give you going forward as well, because I think he was all over the place in the middle of the park. He was up and down. He was harassing the Hibs midfield. He was taking the ball. He was driving forward with it. And I think he left everything on the park tonight. I think you saw the way that he did it in the Old Firm game, and he came in for a lot of praise that day as well. He's done the same here today, where he's absolutely done a job for the team, and he's looked excellent in the middle of the park. And I think that Danny Rule is obviously getting the best out of him, putting them into this system where everybody seems to really know what they're doing. And I think to me that is the biggest difference and the biggest sea change that Danny Rule has managed to impart in the space of a week, really, is the fact that Rangers before this point looked all at sea. They really looked as though they were a bit rudderless, and the players didn't know where they were meant to be, and it was all a bit disjointed. That tonight was a coached team, and a team that looked exactly like they knew what was going on, and they knew exactly where they had to be, and it looked really a complete performance. And everybody loves a 1-0. A 1-0 away from home, you take that every single day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, ugly as hell, all over that. Someone mentioned in the comments a wee while ago, like it was like Walter-esque back in the day. Another player that seems to look a lot better in recent games, Jonny. He looked decent when he came off the bench at the weekend. Got the start tonight. He played in a sort of a central, sort of free role position. Is Mikey Moore? I thought he was good tonight. I don't think the playing on the wing experiment should be something that we should be experiencing again, but we could see just what he's all about in that sort of central role behind the strikers.
Well, I think if you're playing three at the back, Mikey Moore's possibilities for playing too many games are going to be more limited, and it's almost certain that the fullback roles then become sometimes wingers, sometimes fullbacks. He's already talked about the manager, this kind of hybrid player that he's looking for that can slip into different positions that allows him to move to different shapes. And I'm sure Mikey Moore can do that in certain games, especially if you're talking about games at Ibrox against perhaps the lesser lights of the league. But I thought tonight he showed the one thing that he's got that's probably going to set him apart in terms of the rest of his career, which is he's a ball carrier. There were several moments during that game where he took the ball for a walk, and you can see the quality that he's got, the slaloming run that he's capable of. And I thought he did well. I thought he was quite reminiscent of maybe Ryan Kent playing in that role sometimes. Similar type of player, maybe. But that was the best I think we've seen of Mikey Moore. And it must be said, he's another player, Derek, that under Danny Rule, suddenly starting to show a little bit of what he can do. And I think everyone that follows Rangers will be saying that's something you want to see now, week in, week out, and continue this improvement that we're seeing.
Yeah. Can I just add to that point there, Jonny, on Mikey Moore? What I was really impressed by, particularly when Hibs were on the attack, and like you said earlier, after Rangers scored, they invited Hibs onto them a little bit. Mikey Moore has the intelligence to know when to drop back in and make it into a midfield three. He knew when Nico Raskin and Conor Barron needed his help in there. He wasn't just a show pony sitting up front waiting for the ball to come to him, making things happen. He dropped back in and he helped out his two mates behind him. And I thought that was really impressive, because there was times where Hibs were overloading in the middle of the park and Rangers needed an extra body in there. And Mikey Moore, for his young age that he is, he had the maturity to step back in there, bring up the numbers for Rangers, and it really helped him get a grip of the game again in the middle of the park.
Interesting. I wonder, because the manager's got a bit of a headache, a good selection dilemma ahead of Sunday now in terms of his midfield. A lot of comments coming in about Nico Raskin, said he was a bit off the boil tonight. What do you make of him tonight, Blair? I think he's always in the team. He'll start on Sunday. There's no doubt about it, but it's just who starts alongside him, really.
Yeah, I think it was a tricky one for Nico Raskin tonight. I think it wasn't a vintage Rangers performance, and I think that if he thrives on big moments in games. He thrives on being the man to make those big moments happen. And there only really was one of those. The rest of the time, it was all about really digging in and just getting the performance over the line. I think there was a few moments where he was maybe trying to do a little bit too much on the ball. Maybe he was just taking a little bit too much time. He was maybe overthinking things a little bit. The one that springs to mind in particular, I was sitting talking about it with Josh here, that Majowski chance in the second half. I think that a lot of people here were saying that Majowski has to hit that earlier. I think Nico Raskin has to give him that. Nico Raskin has to give him that ball so much earlier. You could see it from here. Ever since Rangers got the ball in the midfield there, he was screaming for it. He was absolutely screaming for that ball early to put him through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and Raskin just held on to it a little bit longer than I would have liked to. There was a few times he was playing the ball round the corner and there was nobody there, and I think, maybe just one of those nights where he was just a little bit off it. But then we also need to remember, these players are experiencing a bit of a new system as well, and Nico Raskin might be one who, in particular, might be moved a bit or might not be playing the exact position that he's used to, whereas other players that might suit a bit better. But I've got no doubt that Nico Raskin has the quality and the ability that under Danny Rule, from what we've seen so far, that he'll be able to adapt to whatever the manager wants him to do.
Yeah, this point from Andrea flagged up, it's sort of bang on. How we've seen the sort of game unfold this evening. He says, the difference is we're giving fouls away in the opposition's half and earlier, so teams don't break on us. Yeah, certainly scrappy second half. There wasn't really much to write home about, but I did notice that certainly first half as well. Rangers were very aggressive, and that's one of the characteristics of a Danny Rule team. He likes to press high up and be aggressive in the opposition's faces. So we're certainly seeing early signs of that at Rangers. In terms of the forward line then, Johnny, I mean, Danilo's come in out from the cold and scored 2 and 2. I think he's put himself right in the frame to start on Sunday. It's who starts alongside him if Rangers are going to play with the two up there. Yusuf Chiriti started the game tonight. Thought he worked hard, but he's someone that looks raw as hell. And he has still got a lot of learning to do in the game. Bojan Majowski's come in for criticism. He's not really been firing in all cylinders. It's a tough one for Danny Rule ahead of Sunday. I think Danilo is a certain starter for me, but who partners him really if Rangers are going to play the two?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Danilo and Majowski. I'm not seeing it with Chiriti, Derek. You look at the guy, and I'm going to try and be as constructive as I possibly can be here. I don't see the touch of a footballer there. I don't see the bare bones that I would expect to see, the basic elements of someone who is considered worthy of the kind of price tag that Rangers have paid. I know he's big and physical, but I don't see a guy who's bulldozing people. I don't see someone who's got great composure. I don't see someone who's super quick. So I am really, really struggling with it. He's a young lad. He's got time to improve. He's raw. But anyone who thinks that Chiriti is going to be the answer for a big game against Celtic, for me, he doesn't have the finesse. And the one thing that you say about Majowski, he's not had a good start. There's no point in pretending that he has had a good start. The one thing you can say about him, and I think Blair, working for other media organisations, will have seen this, when he played for Aberdeen against Celtic, Majowski came alive. He was always at his best because Majowski's a player that thrives in space. Majowski's a player that looks to get in behind, that plays the last line. That's where you hurt Celtic. It's not in front of the game, it's behind them. So Chiriti against Liam Scales and Trusty, I think they eat that up. I think those two against Danilo and Majowski, different proposition, much more what they don't want to face. So give Celtic the problem. Don't try and give them what they want to face. Because, under Martin O'Neill, Celtic are going to play a certain style. I didn't watch their game tonight, obviously. I was watching Rangers. They've bulldozed Falkirk 4-0. But you know what you're going to face with Martin O'Neill. I guarantee you tonight, it was much more direct. They were passing the ball about less, and they were looking more to get it forward quicker at every opportunity. They wouldn't have been possession for possession's sake. Martin O'Neill, go back to the kind of 2000s with his style, and he's never changed out the whole time he's been a manager. Didn't matter if it was at Celtic or Aston Villa or Leicester. or even Ireland. It was always the same. So Rangers know exactly what's coming. Hopefully, someone will explain to Martin, to Danny Rule, what's coming.
Rule. Yeah.
Rule. I'll get there in the end, maybe. And he'll be able to use that knowledge to get a sense of what kind of a game this is going to be. But Chiriti, for me, he's a mile off at Derek.
Yeah.
I don't see the raw elements as to why Rangers made the move for him. But it's early days, and he's a young lad.
Yeah, it is early days, but I'm with you on that one. Blair, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I would slightly counter that. I actually think he might start Chiriti on Sunday, believe it or not. I think tonight, what you've seen, albeit it was, I understand the frustration with Chiriti, I do, because that second half, the ball was bouncing off of him quite a lot. He wasn't really offering a lot in terms of like holding the ball up, but what I've seen in the brief moments so far, I think he makes Danilo a better player. And I think that Danilo works well when he knows that somebody is just going to get the ball down and try and find them. I think that I don't know that Danilo works as well with Majowski, who's going to be playing on the shoulder, looking for that ball over the top. I think Yusuf Chiriti is at the point of his Rangers career where he's looking to just try and take the ball down and find Danilo. Whereas I think if you put Majowski up there with him, Majowski's looking to burst over the top and run on to goal. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that there may be an element of he'll want to try and exploit the Celtic defence like that. But I do also think there is a point of, and I know you need to go and try and win the game from the start. I wonder if there's a point of saving Majowski for later on in the game against Celtic, and then you bring him on, and then you try and impact the game later on if it's still tight. But I think there was a piece we have on the site about why Yusuf Chiriti is a hold-up player almost. Like he's not a forward. I described him tonight to one of my colleagues. He is the antithesis of Hamza Zigman. He is the opposite of Hamza Zigman. I agree with you, Johnny. He doesn't look like a football player. He doesn't have that touch. He doesn't have that explosiveness. He looks a bit kind of all over the place at times. He doesn't move with a finesse. But I do think he does have an element of physicality about him that I think Danilo in particular works well off of. So I don't know. I just have a hunch that he may go with the same two on Sunday, and he may bring Majowski off the bench as an out ball just to shell it over the top for him later on. Feel free to abuse me in the comments after that take. I'm sure they'll be rolling in after that.
Yeah, it reminds me there was a big lad, Karsten Janker. Remember him? He used to play with Bayern Munich. Big lanky guy up top. He's a bit like that, but without the finesse, really. Hopefully Daniel can wean it out of him, but I'm not seeing
I know what Blair's saying there, but I don't think he's going to win an awful lot of balls to find Danilo, and that's my problem. I think against Scales, who's just kind of a big rugged lad who's good in the air and good in physical duels, I think I'll just take care of him. And I don't think he really relishes that physical battle. If you think about someone like Daniel Kuzan, who came up here, and Daniel Kuzan was a player at his very best, should have been a 25, 30 million pound player, but never really got his head right unless it was a big game. Kuzan was a guy that could come and sort of ragdoll people. I don't see that with Chiriti. I don't think that I would back Chiriti to go up against a Scales or a Trusty or a Carter Vickers, who I know is injured, but you get the general point. I think he's a guy that's just such raw physicality. He's going to sort those people out. And listen, Thelwell said in one of his interviews that he's the strongest, or he's up there with being the strongest at the football club. I'm surprised. I'm surprised at that. He doesn't look stronger than John Suter to me. Doesn't look stronger than Cornelius. So if he's got that in his locker, he needs to start showing it. And he needs to start showing it quick. And he needs to start... Carry on.
Well, I will say, on a positive note that I touched on there, I thought Danilo was absolutely excellent. I thought that Danilo is potentially starting to look like the player that all Rangers fans have wanted him to be since he came to the club. I thought that finish was... That is a £6 million player finish, and we've not seen a lot of that from Danilo. But see that ability to just get the ball, one touch, out your feet, bang, bottom corner. That is what Rangers have missed for so long. So long, a player who can just be clinical like that. And I think there's so much support for Danilo. Obviously, you've got the picture there of his dad earlier on. You've seen all the videos on social media of him celebrating with his dad. It's a lovely moment at the end of the park there. If people have seen it, I think we've posted the video where the Rangers players go over to celebrate with the fans, and Danilo runs out straight away and picks out his dad, and they're having this embrace. And the fans, you'll remember Cyril Dessers got a really hard time from the Rangers fans for a lot of his time here. Danilo, through one thing or another, hasn't really got that, and the fans are still really on board with him. The fans want Danilo to be a success, and I think, like I said earlier, that finish tonight is a £6 million striker finish, and I think that if Danny Rule can unlock that, I think Rangers may have a good striker on their hands that has just came out of nowhere, and the proverbial, he might actually be like a new signing.
Yeah, just shy of 2,000 folks tuning in, so thank you to each and every one of you folks. Make sure you hit that like button, and also subscribe. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a video when we go live. There is plenty of content over on the channel. Joshua is down at the press conference room at Easter Road. He'll be speaking to Danny Rule, and that will be with us sometime soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But we'll still go for a wee bit longer before we wrap things up for the day. Lots of build-up, of course, from here on in until Sunday. Huge game. A few comments to get to here of this. Blue Nose says, I'm stewarding the game on Sunday. I better not be in with them lot. I don't know how, when they allocate what's part of the stadium you're stewarding in, buddy, but hopefully you're in the good end, put it that way. Alan with a point just on strikers, says, I was a tight head prop. Can I get a game, Blair? So that's thank you for your donation, incidentally, Alan. Just in some of the subs and some of the other points to note, Darren with the point says, love wee gas, but he needs to lift his head at times and play in his teammates. He's been played on the right-hand side of late. Looks a bit sort of devoid of confidence that we've seen when he first joined, Jonny, I would say. Is that due to the positional shift, perhaps? Is that just maybe expected with wingers that will go off the boil at points?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Neil McCann now sort of probably recognised as a club legend. You know, after all, he was the man that put in that cross for Peter Lovenkrands in Odd Home in 2003. But he was flaky one game to the next. You know, he wasn't turning it on 30 games in a row or anything like that. So that's just how wingers are. And I think if you look at the new system, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult, just like is the case for Mikey Moore, given that the fullbacks and the wingers are going to be kind of fighting for those same positions. Suddenly, it's maybe a little bit easier if you're a striker at Rangers because there's two. Suddenly, it's a bit easier if you're a number 10. Suddenly, it's a bit easier if you're in central midfield to try and make a case. So I think Gassama will be a good signing for Rangers over the long term. He's got a goal in him. He's able to beat a man. He carries the ball well. I think he'd be interesting as a number 10. Absolutely. But I think maybe it's just not the kind of game for him.
Yeah.
This was a game where two well-coached teams came up against each other, and it was about those old Scottish, traditional Scottish football values. You know, It was about, you know, following your man. It was about hard work. It was about good defending, structure. Those things that we know are core to getting over the line in a title race over a full season. Yeah, and that's why I think it was a really, really important moment and a really, really important result for Danny Rule and his team. It keeps the early momentum going, and you know that momentum's important when you're talking about an Old Firm semi-final. And if he can win that, then by goodness, what a start it'll have been. What a start. And I think suddenly you'll start to see the mood continue to accelerate towards positivity after what has been a very challenging period, I think, for Rangers as a club and certainly the fan base.
Yep, I love this. Fraser says, morning guys from Perth, West Australia. Just woke up here to see we had a great win. Suddenly things are looking better. Third in the table, absolutely. And David Andrews gets in touch. He says, Jonny must be raging Hibs last night. Oh, he's hiding it well.
I'm speaking through gritty teeth here.
Anyway, we'll wrap up there for now. I'm on tomorrow morning with Joshua at 9:30, folks. He's just sent a message in that Danny Rule is now uploading to our YouTube channel. So that'll be with you anytime soon. So yeah, big thank you to Blair and to Jonny for joining us on another positive post-match reaction. Let's hope there's a good few more of those in the coming weeks ahead. But thank you to you all for tuning in to the show. It's much appreciated. And just make sure, folks, if a lot of you haven't already downloaded the Rangers Review app, it's available to both Apple and Android users. Totally free to download. Get it downloaded on your phone. That's the best way to consume your Rangers Review content. You can watch all the shows on there, and you can access all the website articles as well. Right. Good night, everyone, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.